Hello and good evening to this special edition of Pucknology After Dark, following a letter to our fans. Hasso Plattner speaks. We are joined by AJ Strong and Chris JWS. Guys, good evening to you. Any brewskis to share before we get started?
Drinking a Bell's Two Hearted Ale. There you go, AJ. Something you can't get.
All right, whatever. I'm drinking some sort of bizarre porter. I don't know. It's pretty good.
Oh, as well as gross one that didn't sell at Costco, dude. What the hell?
No, it's actually pretty good, dude.
All right. Well, we are on. We usually try to follow everything that happens Sharks wise. That's very
Is there something to talk about?
monumental. I'm sorry.
Something happened today?
Something happened today. Hasso Plattner put out a message to the fans. I assume from Germany. And we'll go through it really quickly because it's pretty much what we are going to talk about for the good extent for tonight. This was sent today. For fans everywhere in the world, it is difficult to see their favorite team missing the season's goals. The Sharks had a good run for many years and made it 3 times to the conference finals, but that's not enough when the competition from Southern California won the Cup 3 times in the same time frame. We got fortunate when we acquired Joe Thornton in a trade and had Todd McClellan an excellent head coach. What was the missing piece? Was it drafting, trading, rental players? We tried them all. We clearly had a window of opportunity, but the NHL has a very balanced constitution which doesn't allow for money to become the dominant factor. You can't buy a team, you have to build it, which is very fair. And after you traded picks for ready-to-play veterans, you soon have to start rebuilding the team. We had hoped that we can do both, stay competitive and rebuild at the same time. It was close, but the other teams in our conference were better and at least throughout the whole season and deservedly finished ahead of us. Remember, we were at the end of January in the standings? Now the question is, should we have traded the reinforcements and blocked the young hopefuls from playing, or should we have started the rebuilding process even a year or two earlier?
Okay.
The answer
Well,
is
hold on. I mean, it's 3 more paragraphs. We're going to waste all day trying to read through it. If anything, we should just tackle some of the highlights. If you want to read it, just go to the Sharks website. It's on there. But the things that I'm laughing at and not making a whole lot of sense of, first off, just from the top portion of it, we got fortunate when we acquired Joe Thornton in a trade. Well, okay, sure, that was fortunate. That was also 10 years ago, and reading this, listen to Eric read it, but reading this, why is it that Thornton is the only one listed, like, that is actually called out in this letter? I'm starting to have this weird feeling that Thornton and Hasso are a lot closer than maybe people think. Like, maybe he went over Wilson's head for that no movement clause at this point. There's something, I don't know, it seems a little...
With all the no movement clauses we've given out, you really think he had to go over something like Doug Wilson? All you have to do is give him like a friggin' give him a Klondike bar and he'll give you a no move clause.
I'm sure he didn't, but it's still really weird that you would call out a player. I mean, if you're not going to like highlight certain other people, okay, like we were happy with the additions that we, the things that here's some good things. The play of Chris Tierney and Melker Karlsson, and we're happy with the I don't want to say advancement because that's the development of Mueller and Hurdle.
Okay,
It
real
just
quick,
seemed very odd to call out Thornton.
Real quick, best move Doug Wilson has ever made in your opinion, off the top of your head?
Thornton. Definitely Thornton.
I'm gonna go. I mean, off the top of my head,
why.
Yeah, I don't know. That still seems a little odd to just call out one player, but I honestly, I have to say that the best move that Wilson has ever made is actually the move he's going to make, and that's getting rid of John Scott. I think that's probably going to go down as his best
Question though is, wait a minute. You think John Scott may not come back?
As much as I hate John Scott, not really.
move. But either way, I just thought it was odd to call out one particular player, albeit the best player that the team has ever had. Still, just thought it was interesting, especially when this was about where the franchise is going in the future. The other thing I have a lot of fun with, just in that one sentence, we got fortunate when we acquired Joe Thornton in a trade, and had with Todd McClellan an excellent coach. Well, if he was so goddamn star-spangled excellent, why the hell did you just let him walk out the door less than a week ago? You know what I mean?
Very good question.
Right?
I mean, let's be real here.
Clearly, I know he's not going to like rake him over the coals, but it's I don't know. It's so funny when you hear whether it was Wilson's press conference at the beginning of the week or seeing this. Oh, he's an excellent coach, and he's such a fantastic coach, and blah, blah. Well, then why the hell are you letting him walk if he's so fucking great? Maybe you aren't letting him go. Maybe he's leaving.
Or maybe he was fired and just was trying to cover it up to be on the good side.
I don't think he was fired. I think one of the things that McClellan said in his phone interview, which was very telling, was something about asking Wilson a number of questions and not getting answers that he was interested or that he cared for. I think that said a lot. I think it was just kind of like, I wanted to know where he saw the franchise going or what his plan was, or blah blah blah. And McClellan went, "Yeah, no, I'd rather get on a different sinking ship than this one."
But you also look at it this way: he has a number of options too. He can either go to another club of his choosing where he has a potential to win now and maybe even win that year, or develop a really good team into that, or he could jump on Babcock's coaching staff, maybe be an assistant for a year to have that golden opportunity come up.
I don't know.
When we go really further, I mean, the big one that's probably going to have AJ go off is that the management, John and Doug, they didn't say Tortora or Wilson because apparently we know did a good job.
Well, I tweeted that quote. The management, John and Doug, did a good job. I said, yeah, they did a great job at pissing off the fans. So, I'm whatever. Getting back to the second paragraph though, and then we'll get down to that one. Is what was the missing piece? Was it drafting, trading, rental players? We tried them all. We had the opportunity, and the NHL. It's a very balanced constitution, which doesn't blah 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 blah. I love the fact that it's like, was it trading, drafting, rental players? We tried them all. Yeah, and you fucked up. So maybe you weren't very good at it. If Doug Wilson tried all those things and it didn't work, maybe he's the one that needs to be fired because he didn't draft the right people, he didn't find the right rentals, and he didn't trade for the right guys. So, it appears that buddy Chris is having an Eric-type connection tonight, so he had to drop off. I'm sorry, bro. I had to do it. So he had to drop off, but I'm sure we'll see.
How you give him crap and you give me crap. Like, damn, dude. Oh, boy.
I'm sure we'll see him on Twitter. So anyway, traded for Pitt, ready to play veterans, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It just seems like this is, and I love the fact that it keeps on. If you remember back at the beginning of the season, or not at the beginning of the season, the beginning of this week when Wilson had his press conference, and it was the whole thing of remember when we beat Anaheim and LA and Chicago? And I mean, he can't do a press conference without mentioning that 3-game win streak. And in this press conference, or in this letter from Plattner, it's the same thing where it's like, remember where we were the end of January in the standings? And it's like, yeah, we do. You were in a playoff spot. And then you had a February to like end all Februaries. Couldn't win a fucking game at home. And what they do? They went. What did they do? They won like 3 games, right? The entire month. None of which were at home. Was that the deal, Eric?
I believe so.
Yeah. So, okay, whatever. And then, like you said, it gets into, John and Doug did a good job. Well, yeah, okay, sure they did. Now, the other big note that needs to be talked about here and definitely get more information on is this idea of something has happened. My phone has gone off. And Jesus Christ, I swear to God, dude, I just got a notification from ESPN that says, Sharks owner Hasso Plattner behind GM Doug Wilson's plan to reshape the franchise. Quote, the rebuild is in full progress. Oh, for fuck's sake. How could it have not
and
been
typical
at this
ESPN
point?
that they're 4 hours behind.
Yeah, good looking out, ESPN. But the thing here about we're trying to finalize with the city of San Jose a new arena deal to keep the Sharks at home. What the fuck does that mean? Now, does that mean that they're looking at relocating the team? Does it mean that they're trying to get a new building? Does it mean that they're trying to figure out a way to get monies to improve what most people would say is a perfectly fine arena? Now,
Right.
Doesn't this coincide with a lease expiration next year?
Yeah, it coincides with that. There's definitely I'm sorry, I just got a little distracted from a friend of mine. According to Ross McKeon, our good friend Ross McKeon from the Chronicle and Sharks Pregame and Postgame Live, he says that it is for SAP Center. For the lease of it, but the Sharks are looking for a number of upgrades and improvements. I mean, it is now.
What upgrades and improvements? They've got a gorgeous high definition scoreboard. They added the LED ribbons. They updated the sound system. The only thing I can think of that needs serious updating is dehumidifiers and air conditioning.
And that could be part of it. It could be the dehumidification system. It's something to make the ice a little bit more better because, after all, now you're going to have 44 Sharks games for sure, preseason, regular season. You throw in the 34 for the Barracuda. So now you're playing 70 some odd games with the ice. And usually that only happens up in Canada, where the ice tends to be a lot better because of the weather conditions outside. So they're probably looking into something with that. You also have to make a nice locker room for the Barracuda at SAP Center. You probably could maybe even go with a remodel of the Sharks locker room. I think it's only been remodeled one time in the what is it, almost 22 years that the tank has been in existence.
I just don't understand why. So I'm sorry, but small changes like that, like upgrading a locker room or something like that, that to me doesn't, like, why the hell are they what the hell does that have to do with the city of San Jose and this new deal of keeping the Sharks at home? They're only going to be able to keep the Sharks at home if they get a new fucking locker room?
Well, there's a certain contingencies that I'm sure that they. Oh my god, my phone's going crazy. Sorry about that.
Mute that shit, bro.
I'm sure there's certain contingencies that that the city has to have to keep the arena modern. Yeah, well, they got the LED ribbon and the scoreboard. Although now the scoreboard's kind of outdated because now you see these mini versions of the Cowboys Stadium jumbotrons. Yeah, I think in like Minnesota, Colorado, Tampa, To
See,
name
I
a
would hate that. I would hate that. I know a few people that have gone to see the Cowboys and in at Jerry World, and they said it's ridiculous. A lot of times you don't see a lot of the crowd shots for the most part because people they don't watch the game like this. They watch the game like this.
I agree. I
You know what I
agree.
mean?
I mean,
It's
it's a nice
silly.
spectacle, which is great. However, all right, I would like to play Madden or NHL 15 on it like one time, and that's pretty much it, and I'm done with it.
Yeah, no,
But
that would
but
be fun.
also look at it this way, AJ. How we'll use the Niners as an example. Um, it was tough to entice free agents to um, to uh, to the Niners because they played in Candlestick Park. They're probably thinking the same in San Jose, that they need to bring people in because they want the nice amenities. Now, what I said about the locker rooms might just be a little thing. They might want to remodel the suites. Maybe they want to do a fancier version of what MSG has. Although I'm not sure how they could possibly do that with the layout of the arena, and have that
I
special.
just I can't see how. I don't know. I don't understand how that would doing like slight remodeling. You know, whether it's updating the suites, updating the locker rooms. I mean, just doing various updates or whatever. All that shit's internally. It's within the building. I don't understand exactly how that comes to. You know, we are trying to finalize with San Jose a new arena deal to keep the Sharks at home. To me, it sounds like it's something more. Maybe it's a fiscal thing. It's something about splitting the monies or
I mean,
something with the lease or whatnot.
right. I mean, it could be a number of things, but I'm sure that part of it has to be upgrading certain things in the arena. There's no way they could expand it. There's no way that they can change things around. Although I don't know if you want to change much of that arena around at all.
I wouldn't at
Um,
all. I wouldn't touch it. There's nothing wrong with it. There's not a bad seat in the house.
right. And again, the lease is up after, I think it's after this coming season. And so the question becomes, if they don't get that done, do they start looking around at other places? Or do they, and we're not talking like San Francisco, we're talking maybe Vegas. And that's where I chatted with another person on Twitter about my almost my major league theory that maybe if they don't get what they want, then they'll try to drop the attendance to the point where we're not doing anything, we're losing a ton of money, what are we supposed to do?
I don't think I don't see that as being the case. I feel like they are pretty. I think they seem pretty committed to San Jose, especially with the idea of bringing in the Barracuda when they could have, maybe used the Barracuda to test the waters in another market. For me, I think it's one of two things. If it's a case of getting a new building, which it in fact, obviously it could be, it's a case of getting a new building, then you essentially have a couple options. You look at the land that the city was going to use for the Oakland A's, and you relocate, you build a new stadium there while they're still playing at the Tank. Or, and I hope to God this is not something that even remotely comes to fruition, or they look at building a new arena right next to Levi Stadium, which would suck ass.
And you'd pretty much make even a you would pretty much make a parking problem in Santa Clara that much worse by putting an arena there. And that's where you also would question how much longer does Great America have if you're going to put an arena there? There's no more room. I mean, yeah, you could put an arena there, but you're taking up like 80% of the parking that you need for Levi's and that arena. There's just no room. The other idea I thought, if we're going to go with a new arena, literally across the street because it's a parking lot and there's maybe a business or two that maybe they buy the business out of. Because also, if you move it to where the A's were going to go, there's you're pretty much relocating everything that you had downtown. You have to go a block up or a couple of blocks up and then go to the right. So it'll be easier to get off right off of the Diridon train station, but a little more of a workout wouldn't be too bad, but it comes a little more convenient.
Well, I can't see them building it directly across the street if you're talking about in like the VIP preferred parking area, because there's just not enough room to do it.
Well, they would have to buy up a lot of the parking and all that. I think.
Well, they'd also have to eliminate Montgomery.
True.
You'd have to eliminate that street, so you got to deal with that. That would be a fucking nightmare.
Which wouldn't be too bad of an idea, because then across the street, you have once they tore down the Shark Tank, they would have a boatload of parking again. You keep the parking lot the same. Once you bulldoze the tank, you would have all that. But I mean, we're getting way ahead of this, but it's an interesting thought because Hasso was very generalized about an arena deal.
Yeah. Well, and see, that was the thing, is it would be nice to see him have a little more specificity. The other thing, and I don't know if people really caught it, I think maybe, I don't know if giving some kudos to Mark Purdy from the Mercury News is perhaps something that should be done, but during Wilson's press conference, Purdy had asked about talking with, trying to get some sort of maybe a phone call or something with Hasso Plattner
Right.
to ask him some questions. And Purdy was, was saying, Wilson answered him saying, well, Plattner, as you know, doesn't enjoy speaking to the media, which of course begs the question, well, then why the fuck does he own a goddamn, professional sports team if he doesn't like dealing with the media?
Well,
you're in the wrong fucking business, pal. But the fact is that Purdy said, well, he doesn't have to go through us. He could just write directly to the fans and put it on the website or whatever. And then 3 days later, here we go.
Yeah, I'm sure there was part of that. And although if that's the case, that a media member says that he should write it, come on, let's be real here. Let's definitely get this thing back together. I just, if it took for a media writer to convince Hasso to write something,
I'm sure it didn't. It was just very coincidental. Just very coincidental.
Although I will say this, when Wilson was talking and it was right up to that, I think Purdy followed up with, when's the last time you were in contact with Hasso? And Wilson said, and that was on the 20th, he said about a month ago. A month ago, the Sharks were
a month ago
for a playoff spot.
Yeah, that's another thing that's very telling. A month ago? What
I mean that's speaking big time, because if this is now what if you're getting monthly talks and we're assuming we're still going up to that Doug still has to talk to him, that's a little concerning. But at the same time, that you're saying the management, John and Doug, did a good job. Are we to assume that that's the annual vote of confidence for Doug? Is he safe to say?
Well, I think at this point it's maybe it's a case of. But I mean, well, clearly neither of us know what the details or on the length of Wilson's contract is. So, who we can speculate all we want that maybe it was in line with McClellan's, so he has one more year. Maybe he's been signing in 3-year. Who knows what Wilson's length of contract is? But I would speculate that if there is one more year, if next season they fall on their face again, and they're, I mean, we have more. There's clearly, from what, at least what I've been seeing, and who knows how much of it is real, but from what I've seen, a lot of season ticket holders are pissed off. They were pissed off after, you know, butching a 3-0. It was 3-0, but they're, you know, they're pissed off about that, and they said, okay, I'm going to give them one more year, and if, you know, and if I don't see something, I'm out. Well, they pissed off an awful lot of fans. We can go through the laundry list, the Remenda, Ice Girls, CGI ads, you know, John Scott, Hasso, or Hasso, Hannon, raising ticket prices out of all this shit and mailing them out early, you know, which was kind of interesting. So, I mean, you've had all these different ways that they have just royally pissed off the fan base this season. And we've talked about it before. Next season, you've got the Barracuda coming in. So that's another team fighting for your sports entertainment dollar. Plus, you've brought it up before that the Warriors are killing it right now. Who's to say there are not people that are just going to say, fuck this, I'm going to go start watching basketball or whatever because I've had it with this fucking hockey team and them not being able to get their shit together. So
throwing the Quakes.
Oh yeah, you got the nice brand new facility for the Quakes. Mm-hmm. So it's just a case of I mean, and even for your sports entertainment dollar, the San Jose Giants are a fun group to take in from time to time and very reasonable when it comes to price. So either way, if they have another season like they did this year where they sit there and they talk about one thing and they do the opposite. Oh, we want to get younger. By the way, fetch me John Scott and Scott Hannon right away. I mean, that's going to piss off the fans. They better have an off season to write fucking home about, man. They better make some incredible moves this off season to try to appease this fan base and get their shit back together. And this September, or I'm sorry, not this September, the first weekend of October, and I don't care if I don't care what this player says, I don't care what this broadcaster says, I don't care what that sports writer says, and whether they think it's a big deal or not a big deal. Name a fucking captain. October.
I agree. I mean, that should have been done this past year. You talked about the free agents in the summertime. There really isn't much to go around to really boost. I mean, granted, anything is better than Tire Fire or Scott Hannon himself. I'm looking at everything here. For the forwards, you have San Luis, Mike Fisher, Antoine Vermette, who's already in the doghouse in Chicago, and he's barely been there. Justin Williams, Matt Valesky might be one guy that you might go after.
Dude, you just got robbed, man. Some woman just came in and stole a bag of shit.
She doesn't want to be noticed. Valesky, Ribeiro, Carl Soderberg, those are pretty much your top free agents this summer. Your defensemen and goaltenders. Mike Green, he's had injury issues so much. Paul Martin, I don't know. Andre Mazzaros is
I want Talbot.
You have Andre Mazzaros, Christian Ehrhoff. Maybe we get a sweetheart deal to bring him back. Johnny
Aduya, maybe.
Cody Franson.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who we get rid of, but yeah, if I would take Franz, I would consider Franzen over Dylan at this point.
Andre Sekera.
See, this is one of those things where Doug needs to take the money and I'm sorry that, you know what, you just reminded me of a great point. Another besides all those things that I listed off about pissing off the fan base, another one you can add to that list is this was the first season in like 6 seasons that they didn't spend almost to the cap. Like they were a good 10, 11 million under the cap by the end of the season, which is a huge first for the Sharks. So you've got all this extra, do re mi, as it were. make a deal to, if you're going to have to make a trade. I don't know if it's going to be a UFA pickup. Maybe you need to look into making a trade. Maybe you need to consider if you're going to now, and granted, a lot of people are going to think I'm out of my fucking mind. Pavelski's 30. Is that a guy that you maybe consider, and just came off one of his, probably his best years point-wise, and granted, that's going to happen when you skate next to Joe Thornton, but maybe he's a guy that you look at as a piece to move to fully get this rebuild going. If depending on, he's got to get you some nice pieces back. At the very least, a number one pick and a prospect minimum. But if you can somehow convert Pavelski into a number 2 puck-moving defenseman type, because that's one of the things that I was actually thinking about today. And let me ask you this. You look at all the teams that are in the division, right? Arizona, Anaheim, LA, and the Western Canada teams. Go look just like mental index on their defense on their defensemen depth-wise and put it next to the Sharks. Really? No, I'm saying, yeah, really, there's not a whole lot that the Sharks have that's better than any of the other teams. It's, it's like Vlasic is the clear number 1 for the Sharks. Would you take him over Doughty? No. Would you take him over Giordano? No, I wouldn't. I'd take Giordano at this point. But and who's the number 1 in Vancouver? It sure as shit isn't Bieksa. But I mean, who you got there? Edler? I mean, who's the number
Edler,
1?
Maybe oh gosh, why can't
But Vancouver's I know, but they're on the slide, and that's the other point too is Edmonton's going to be a lot better next season. I mean, they should be. How can they not be? Mm-hmm. And they're obviously looking for defensive help and a goaltender. Oh, by the way, one in San Jose named Niemi, he's available. But Calgary.
There's 2 big goalies available. Maybe.
Minnesota's keeping Dubnik. There's no fucking way that didn't happen. No. But I'll take Talbot. But Calgary's going to get better. LA is going to be LA. Anaheim has surprised the shit out of me, to be honest with you. I didn't think they were going to roll Winnipeg in 4 games. That blew me away.
I thought Winnipeg would have given them more fight. I actually bought a hat from River City Sports in Winnipeg, and of course, hey, it was $7. Why not? And it probably will arrive tomorrow.
Okay. Just in time.
Although someone noticed it already, I am rocking a Atlanta Thrashers jersey. One of the many jersey collection, a part of my jersey collection that I have. Obviously, a very limited edition. But getting to the tweet here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's take it to the tweets. Gen X,
we have a lot of them. We didn't even promote it. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
Generation.
By the way, if you want to get in on this, so you can tweet me at AJ_strong or Eric at PuckGuy14, and if you want to hashtag Pucknology After Dark. But I do believe that Eric has a graphic, so let's take a look at that.
So, there you go. Want to be a part of the show? Hashtag Pucknology After Dark. You can tweet either me or AJ at PuckGuy14 or AJ_strong. You can tweet the other guys, but they're probably not going to answer it. Moving along.
I wouldn't. But Gen X says takes the care out the list because the Kings will resign him if Voinov is convicted, which is likely. Because the only lines that LA are putting out next year are
cheap shot.
Wow.
Too soon. Although I will say, and the judges have their scores, since his girlfriend is the co-host with Dancing with the Stars. Generation X, as we began this, so Hasso would be like the adults in Peanuts, and Totoro would be Pigpen, to which we say, womp womp. Womp 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 womp. Okay,
Well,
teacher, if you think Doug Wilson's doing a good job, we'll just let everything stand pat.
well, I like this one from Ryan Bayer. He says, "Hey guys, will the Sharks ever build a legitimate bottom six?" No. Well, they will, but it's
They
going to be
can.
all youth. Oh, they have the ability, but it's going to what is going to be the bottom six next season? I mean, you know that Tierney will be involved in there, so okay, that's fine. I'm thinking Nieto will be involved in there. Um, Goodrow may not make it out of the AHL. He might start off in the AHL next season. There's especially if Torres comes back. You have Torres as an option.
You have
Mike
Torres
Brown
coming
has
back,
one more year on his deal,
right?
and Brown's coming
Maybe
off
they
injury, but he has one
resign
more
John
year on
Scott.
his.
They might
No,
resign John
no,
Scott.
no.
Plus,
Nope.
dude, come on. It would be total Doug Wilson if we did.
No, that's
might have
the John
Bowman
Scott thing. That's going to be the one fucking thing he does in the last 12 months that is actually that the fan base are actually going to be behind. Is that he's not going to re-sign John Scott?
I just have a feeling he might. I just, for
Nope.
some reason, I have a feeling that he's going to re-sign John Scott.
What
After
what
all,
what is the benefit of re-signing John Scott?
obviously, he
Name me one
surpassed
fucking benefit. Oh, he's a good guy.
total of rules this season.
Hire a comedian.
I mean, I don't know, but my point is that would be so Doug Wilson if he did.
No, it's not going to happen. The fact that he brought on John Scott to quote unquote protect the younger players. How the fuck do you protect younger players from the press box when you're only playing half the season? How do you protect it? Get the fuck out of here with that. Especially, like I said, if you have Torres back, and especially if Brown's healthy, you don't need Scott. It's stupid. It's
right.
really stupid. So you go,
getting back
it's the younger players.
Right. Getting back to the tweets, Ryan again, what's best for business is that Doug Wilson needs to go. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be happening unless something Doug says is pretty mind-blowing to Hasso. It seems like Hasso's okay with the slow rebuild, which I think will piss off a lot more fans and a lot more season ticket holders. King Shark, Daryl Martin. Good evening, Daryl. Good to hear from you, bud. Hasso again from another continent shows Sharks fan base's absolute indifference towards them. Generation X-Wing SAP Center upgrades. More systems in the arena running SAP software and back-end services.
And network equipment ain't cheap.
Yeah. Hasso basically told the team and fan base, DW is in charge. Don't like it, get the hell out now. Jacob or Jay Bucho 07, we will get to yours in just a second because that's a big one that I am personally loving.
But let me answer Daryl Martin's there with the Hasco's basically told the fan base, DW is in charge, don't like it, get the hell out. I think I would get the hell out, but I have a no movement clause, so I can make Wilson's life a total torturous time.
Wait, hang on.
Oh, he's trying to add it. There it is. He's a little late, but it was all good.
All right.
Chris usually takes care of that.
Hasso has no business being owner as long as he's owner. DW is GM. No cup coming. San Jose, it's done. King Shark 49. Ryan again, you can only put a band-aid on the situation for so long and then it's time to build a new home. That's true. However, I think everybody knows how amazing the Shark Tank really is.
And could you imagine them pulling a 49er fuck up where they build a new building and it's just a total shit house of a barn?
Exactly. I mean, Levi's is gorgeous. I think it's, and I know there's certain restrictions that the NFL has that the field supposedly has to go north-south for some reason. But But yeah, that was an epic fail on them. But Jed was literally in a hurry to get out of Candlestick. Um,
Well,
Generation X Wing,
that brings up the perfect point. Do you want it done now, or do you want it done correctly?
right? That's the big point. Generation X Wing, if you say they'll move to Seattle, I will fly down there and kick you in the junk. No need to kick
Yeah.
me in the junk because Seattle and Tukwila still can't get their crap together about how to, one, get the public transportation to work, and two, to get an arena deal done. If Seattle was smart and were still getting over about losing their damn supersonics, they would have had an NHL team probably this past season. Um, Ryan again was saying you guys have to keep in mind that the SAP Center is used a ton throughout the year by concerts. Yes, that's true. That's when they recently did the upgrades, including the LED. They strengthened the rooftop to carry on more weight. However, the second that the Warriors Arena is built in San Francisco, where do you think all the major concerts are going to go? They're going to go to San
Absolutely.
Francisco, and they're going to need to figure out something. That's why I think the Sharks brought the Barracuda in to add on nights for their games. Chris, as
Well, see,
watching,
that's a tough call to make because by the time the Warriors facility in San Francisco is finished, the Barracuda might have already been moved to wherever, Sacramento, Fresno, whatever.
but that's the point. Is maybe they keep the Barracuda in San Jose to add arena dates when they lose the Taylor Swift concert, or Walking with Dinosaurs, or maybe the Harlem Globetrotters.
Well, I think they'll get because well, when it comes to stuff like the Globetrotters or the circus or any of that type of shit, all I think what you're essentially going to see happen is a lot of times they'll play in Oakland for a couple days, and then they'll play in San Jose for a couple days, whatever, and you'll just see the Oakland dates move to San Francisco, and the San Jose states will still remain for certain things. But you're right, like if it's a big concert, whether it's well, I don't considering big concert. I don't know, whether it's Lady Gaga or whoever the fucking big artist is right now, they
Right.
could very well play a date up there and then a date down here, depending on how big of the artist is. But yeah, you're right. If it's a one-off, that it's a band coming through just for one show in the Bay Area, yeah, they're going to be playing in a brand new shiny object in San Francisco.
Right. Ryan also mentions, on free agent wise, how about Damian Bruner? He was available this past season. My guess is that there's a reason behind to why they didn't. So, um,
Well,
I don't know.
I like Daryl Martin, King Shark 49, saying Hasso knows he's pissing off season ticket holders. Problem is, he could simply care less.
Right. Um, like Ryan also says, the bottom six needs to score at least 30 goals combined among those guys. I agree. I think there should be a good amount. The one of the things I think where we had a good group of bottom six was when Richie Scott Thornton and Nicholas Sundstrom were a line. That line had good chemistry and energy, can hit, can get the puck out of the zone, and score. I think they were all very good. SAP Center, or from Jacob again, SAP Center should add in Chargers like AT&T Park. I agree. This is San Jose's stadium / arena, I guess you could say. The technology should be probably even better than Levi's, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think maybe
Or,
that's another thing that Shark Sports and Entertainment are talking about, is that this is a 22-year-old building. Let's keep it going because it can still be a very good building. We just need to upgrade it to keep up with technology and everything. I mean, as much as we criticize it all, the freaking Levi Stadium app was um, was pretty good when we were there for 49ers games and the Stadium Series. So maybe something like that where the technology can be better about it. So, um,
getting back to the question about the bottom six, I mean, here's another thing too that that I think needs to be discussed is, will we see Wilson hire a coach? And here's the problem too. Would Wilson hire a coach that says, "Oh, by the way, Doug, you're a fucking idiot for not having Burns at forward"? So I would love to see next season they reunite as the top line. You have Thornton, Burns, and Hurdle. Your second line can be, say, Couture, Wingles. Oh yeah, Wingles and Marlowe. And then your third line, you're looking at Pavelski, or actually, but as a winger, as he played this season on the top line, you have Tierney with Pavelski and Nieto. And then on the bottom line, you've got Smith, Brown, and, say Carlson, or maybe Carlson. I mean, but you have that available to you. And I didn't even mention Rafi Torres. So, or Goodrow.
And don't forget about, maybe Goldobin, Jeff Gloves. I mean, there are now guys that are looking promising. I won't say that they're ready to be NHL players, but now they're building it up, finally.
Either way, I think there are pieces to be made and trades to be done, but it still has to be that you have to address the glaring holes on the blue line, and Brent Burns was one of them. Yeah, he put up some extraordinary offensive numbers this season as a defenseman. A lot of those were on the power play, which he probably would have been playing on if he was on at the forward position. Right. So, the top two guys right now, it's Vlasic, it's Braun. To be honest with you, everybody after that, I'd be willing to part with if it's going to get us better assets, if it's going to, make the team stronger down the line. They've got to get that top two puck mover defenseman guy.
Or do they trade a player to get picks in this draft? This has been said that it is a very deep draft. I mean, the Sharks only have, I think, 2 picks in the first 90 overall picks in this draft. Doug would like to.
Well, hold on. What did you say?
I believe the Sharks only have 2 out of the first 90 pick. 3 out of the first 90.
They should get a third pick contingent to McClellan signing with the team. They'll get a compensatory third rounder.
Okay. Now, how does that work? Is that why the Sharks have to be in the loop in regards to where Todd goes?
I believe so, yes. And just to while you're mulling that over on the Twitter machine, Brian Bayer says, you mentioned the Ricci, Scott Thornton, Sundstrom line. How come DW is not using that model to build the bottom 6? I don't fucking know, but he didn't build that 6 anyway. That was Lombardi and Sutter. Right. So why he doesn't use that? Maybe it's because you also have to take into account when Ricci, Thornton, and Sundstrom were here. This was before the 2004 lockout. This is when you saw a lot more cycling down low. I mean, when was the last time you saw a strong cycle? You just don't see it anymore for some godforsaken reason. It's the new NHL. There was a lot more clutch and grab and holding that was also allowed back then. Ricci and Thornton, not the fastest skaters on the world, but the motherfuckers would grind you into a pulp. They would just outwork you, which is clearly something that is working incredibly well for Calgary right now in the playoffs, which sadly to say the Sharks just don't have in them for some reason. They don't know how to pound a team into submission.
For those who are actually watching us, thank you very much. If you're looking for an update on the Warriors, they are getting blown out at the moment by 15 points with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Very surprising there. I mean, very surprising.
You know what? I just realized that was a bad thing. Gen X is going to fucking screenshot that. I know it.
Patrick, better make it happen, dude.
But yeah, no, okay. Well, the hell with the Warriors. Calgary's still up, right?
I'll check that right now. He's holding all week.
Okay, you know what? If you want to,
I just know that there are Warrior fans out there that are bigger hockey fans than anything else.
Yeah, so, there you go.
Nashville is up 4-1 in the third, so it looks like they're going to stave off elimination. Calgary and Vancouver are tied 1-1 as they are in the second intermission.
Ooh, come on, Calgary. Break their hearts at Rogers. Please break their hearts at Rogers. I hate that fucking team. So anyway, let's just kind of think about wrapping this up here. Quick thing.
Wrap it up here.
You know, we plan on doing a Pucknology After Dark. And as always, please down low if you would subscribe. We appreciate that. But we plan on doing one after the end of the first round, to go over the picks that myself, Chris, and Eric had. Eric was already down one in the in the picks with Winnipeg getting swept out last night. And I'm looking, and in fact, let's throw up these picks right now if we can. There we go. So as you can see, Eric sadly has lost that round. I'm looking pretty good. If Calgary can pull this shit out, I'm real happy with my first round. Where are we at in St. Louis and Minnesota? It's like the only –
It's 2-2.
It's tied 2-2. Not the score, the series, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that could go either way. So I might get a clean sweep in the West. That would be really awesome. And then in the East, so Montreal, man, I can't believe Ottawa staving off the sweep yesterday. That was pretty amazing. New York, come on, baby, 1 win away. Do it back home at the Garden. And then, of course, the Isles and the Caps. The Isles and the Caps, is that tied now, or did Washington take a 3-2 lead in that series?
Destroyed them tonight 5-1, so the Caps are up 3-2.
Motherfucker. Yep. It pisses me off. And then the shocker for me, although clearly not to Chris, is Detroit. I don't know what the hell happened to Tampa, man, but everybody's beating a Bishop in Detroit, if you know what I mean. So,
but they lost in overtime tonight, 3-2. So that series is tied.
Okay. Well, then, and it should be going back to Tampa then, correct?
Yeah, it goes back to Tampa for Game 5. So yeah.
All right, come on, Bolts, do me a favor, man. Come on. All right.
I'm looking pretty good in the East.
You are? Hold on. Wait a minute. Let's look you up here. Because of the Caps. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yep, definitely.
We'll see what happens. You have the potential to roll that one unless the Islanders pull some. So I mean, who knows, dude? It's funny. I've tried to watch the majority of Montreal and Ottawa. I've tried to watch the majority of the Rangers and the Pens. I haven't watched any of the Islanders and the Capitals. I've only caught one game of the Wings and the Bolts. Then I've tried to watch most of Anaheim, Winnipeg. I haven't watched any of the Blues and the Wild. And then it's been Chicago, Nashville, Vancouver, Calgary. Those are the two that I'm just not missing. I mean, I understand that I'm missing it now because it's over my shoulders, but I'm recording this, so I will watch this.
These games aren't staggered like they've been the last couple of years. They have.
It sucks, man.
And it's weird because why the hell are you starting a game in Nashville or Chicago or Minnesota at 6:45 p.m. Pacific time? I mean that great Chicago-Nashville game that went into a minute into triple overtime. That game ended at 1:30 in the morning.
And what a game it was!
And that was a great
and
game.
I was so nervous in that game watching Chicago Nashville with like 9:50 left in the first period, and Chicago is just coming in waves. Like it's inevitable. Like Jesus Christ, they're gonna score at any minute. And all of a sudden the puck disappears in Renee's gear for like 5 minutes, and I'm going, oh man, this is gonna suck for the Blackhawks. And for the rest of the period, it kind of did. It got like Nashville got their shit together and started bringing some pressure. And then the second just was kind of back and forth, but Chicago started ramping up again. And then thank God they took care of it in the third. But that was amazing. On the Twitter machine, Jacob says next year's line should be Thornton, Pabs, and Burns. I don't know if I agree with that. Next line, Marlowe, Couture, Wingles, what I said earlier. Next line, Nieto, Tierney, Carlson. Yeah, I can see that. And then the last line, Torres, Smith, Brown, which could be an interesting fourth line, kind of, bangers. Those are the guys that you do want to, hit hard and everything. I would almost consider moving up Torres, Smith, and Brown to the third line, just like how Sutter used to do, where he'd have his grinders and his bang guys on the third line. Torres always seemed to have his most success when he was getting third line minutes. So we can see how that plays out. But the problem is that Jacob doesn't have Hurdle anywhere, and he's going to be there next season. So anyway, getting back to, boy, did we get off on a tangent. So we'll be back for a first round picks wrap up after the first round has been completed, and
second round preview where we will pick again through the four.
Absolutely. So which coach would steer the Sharks back to playing great hockey again from Ryan Baer? Are you still on the Bilesma train, or is there somebody else you're considering?
Okay, let me get this straight, because I know Generation X-Wing is ready to kick my balls for another topic. I've never been on the Bilesma train. He's always been the one guy that everybody's talked about being the guy that's out there to pick up. I mean, there's a number of coaches. We talked about this the other day with Ross of who can come out. In fact, here's a graphic. I still have it of Bilesma, Tortorella. Ross had a really good one in Tony Granato, Berube, the former Light Boucher. I mean, if you were lucky to get Babcock, maybe Randy Carlisle. Dallas Aikens, I could possibly see Aikens being the guy here. Maybe Ron Wilson. Doug will be like, "Well, I made a mistake, so here he is." Or of course, the one that'll just piss me off up the yin yang, Roy Sommer.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I mean, there are a few interesting choices on there. I'm actually gonna say I'm gonna go on record now and say that none of those people will be behind the Sharks bench next season.
I would say Granato, Aikens, or Sommer, because I think that's how Doug would go about it.
Okay. I don't think they're coming. I don't think any of those are coming, but
yeah. Anyways, let's wrap this up as we hit the 9 o'clock hour. Any last points you want to take?
Just so to wrap up the thing with the Hasso's quote unquote letter, it seems pretty clear that Wilson has, he has Plattner fooled or snowed or whatever you want to call it, but he's got Hasso buying into whatever this godforsaken plan is. If we ever see it come to fruition, but like I said, maybe Wilson's days are actually getting numbered, especially if the Sharks have another season like they did. And as I stated earlier, this better be an off season to write home about if you're going to right this ship, especially if you're bringing in competition to play in the same barn next season. So that's kind of my final thought on that. There is one more thing that we do have to touch on.
What, my AOL Or is that what we have to do our obligatory AOL joke at me?
No, I'm thinking the super sale.
Oh yes, the super sale. It's this Saturday, May 2nd at SV Pizza at San Jose.
That's not
May
this Saturday, is it?
Not no. It's May 2nd, Saturday. Saturday, May 2nd. It's on the floor because there's no ice there at the Shark Tank. This is the first time they've ever done it this way, which I think is a brilliant idea. Usually the Shark store has their clearance sale and sell everything off like crazy. The Sharks always had the equipment sale at Sharks Ice. They're combining it all on the, I call it the rink because that's where it is, inside the Shark Tank. It, I believe, begins at 9 a.m. on May 2nd. If you are a suite holder, or let me see here, if you are a suite holder or let me put it here, a suite owner or a Sharks corporate partner, you get the first dibs on April 30th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Of course, they'll probably take a lot of the stuff. On Friday, May 1st, Shark season ticket holders get in at 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Yours truly is a Shark pack holder. They will go from 2 to 7. I will tell you this from experience. I've done this a number of times. I will one day show you the closet of game worn jerseys I have. You've obviously seen me on the show wearing a number of game worn jerseys. Um, if you are in the Shark Pack holder setting time or even the public one, we'll put it this way: there's not much equipment, as in helmets, skates, gloves, etc. If you're looking for that, I would highly suggest if you try to contact a friend who is a season ticket holder and get in the season ticket holder setting. The big one, of course, is the game worn jerseys. Those usually for this season usually range between about $300 $400 for like guys that have been traded, like maybe Demers or Desjardins or Kennedy or Shepard, to about $1,200 for the big guys: Marlowe, Thornton, Burns, Couture, Pavelski.
Those prices are outrageous.
But if you go back to the past, those who've seen me and Gentry, we both have Dan Boyle jerseys. We got those, and those were past seasons, and those were $300. So you can find good deals there. My Ehrhoff jersey was a steal for $50. It was the first, set of the Edge jerseys. So there's stuff out there that people can find, and
you can find some good shit. I've found a couple seasons ago. I went to it, and it was, I want to say they had it was either 2 or 3 seasons ago, but it wasn't long after, or they were just into those 3rd generation jerseys for a couple seasons or whatever. But for some reason, they had a decent amount of teal. They only had a couple whites, but they had a good amount of teal and black 2nd generation jerseys, and the 2nd gens are my favorite. And I was able to pick up 4 of those for, I think it was like, maybe $50 a piece. And these are authentic. I mean, these have the fight strap, and and that was, I almost bought a couple more. That was such a great deal. And I got an Irwin stick, and I got a couple other little knickknack. You can pick up a puck and everything. But yeah, I will say, unfortunately, the vast majority of like the stuff that you want that's affordable, that shit is all gone by the time you get there, when you're just one of the regular peons when it's open to the public. But they will have a few things if you want to shell out the ducats for it.
Right, definitely. It's for game worn jersey collectors. This is a great thing because normally a lot of the teams in the NHL go to one company to get it done. In fact, that one company has control, I believe, of most of the Stadium Series jerseys, and their costs are even worse than what the Sharks would be charging for them. I mean, a team issue, which means it's not game worn, but it could have been worn. of like say Tyler Kennedy will go on this site for like $600, while the Sharks are probably going to sell it for like 300. So you are getting a good deal. It's nice to have a once in a lifetime purchase, and if you're really good about jersey collecting, you look for pictures of the guy wearing the jersey, like say there's a significant puck mark on a shoulder or something. You photo match it, the value of it increases big time. So
that's cool.
Yeah, that's on.
I'm interested to see how this goes now that they're combining the store with the equipment sale and the store clearance. So that should be that could be kind of cool. That's actually the area that I'm kind of interested in most, is to look more at the Sharks clearance stuff, because there's a few items that they have this season that I was really digging, but I'm like, I'm not buying that at $85. But if you have it for like 50 or 40, okay, now we're talking.
And that might be another thing that they're talking about with the arena lease, is that they're going to need to expand that Shark store.
It's like you got to have the
coming in. You're going to have a boatload of stuff for the Barracuda that you're absolutely going to need to have. They're probably going to need to take out the restaurant more than anything. So
that would be kind of cool, especially because and I'm not saying that I know Chris will give me shit about it, but it would be nice for a fan that if they wanted to go in there in like November and get a SaberCats jersey or a shirt or something, they can. But generally they can't, because it's all sharked out. You can't get that stuff until it's arena football time. So
yep. So it's time to wrap it up. For Chris, who took off on us early, for AJ Strong, I am Eric, Puck Guy 14. We will see you after the first round is completed. Keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it real fresh. Good night, everyone.